Hello folks, I'm going to try and do this video as gently and as quickly as possible. This was a 10-minute video picture thing, or silent video that I'm recording onto, sound onto. So yeah, this subject could take a while, so Father, please lead and guide. That basically, the issue between myself and this pastor comes back to when I commented on the ministry of Alexander, when he brought his testimony and ministry. My video was talking about the fact that whoever put him up there was wrong, because he wasn't ready in any way, shape or form. To give his testimony, maybe, but the rest of it, no. The examples he gave, look, he gave examples where authority wasn't used, but where authority, or where what happened had to happen, where it couldn't be used. So therefore they were incredibly bad examples, to say the least. So therefore there's no way, shape or form that God would want you to use those examples as to say how we should do things differently to how they did things, because there were people who couldn't do things any differently. Adam telling the devil to basically go away and stop talking to his wife about the tree, and the Jewish people deciding on Barabbas instead of Yeshua to set free. Neither of those situations could have been done any differently. And then to speak about world leaders and saying that some world leaders we shouldn't be praying for because they're nasty, they're evil. But actually, if you look at every country, there's a certain proportion of the population that believes that their world leaders are evil. So by that point, we shouldn't be praying for any leader then. Again, you opened a can of worms and you shouldn't have. That wasn't wise. There was no wisdom at all in any of the things he brought outside of his testimony. I wouldn't necessarily say his testimony was brought brilliantly, but it was brought okay. But my point was, he shouldn't have been up there. There's no way, shape or form he should have been up there. I'd seen him bring something before, and what he brought before was dodgy. Very, very dodgy. Basically saying that Yeshua had said, by bringing that sheet down with all the animals and saying we shouldn't criticise what God has made clean, that we shouldn't criticise each other. Excuse me, that's not what the Bible says. And Yeshua criticised people. Criticised people of the church. He criticised Peter. When Peter said things of the devil, the Lord pointed that out. You know? The Lord didn't pretend that wrong was right. He criticised when that was necessary. So why would he tell you that sheep being brought down to Peter, even though God was talking about eating with people that were Gentiles, and you think that means that we shouldn't criticise anyone because God has made everyone clean? No, people are still very, very dirty. God sees people as clean, but they're not made clean. They're still very, very dirty. We get made clean through a process. So personally, I wouldn't put him up to preach at all. That man. Not unless God was seriously pushing me to do so. But actually, if you are the leader of a church, you shouldn't be putting anyone up to preach instead of you, or if you can't be there, unless God is really pushing you to do so. So, pretty much, the pastor was having a go at me for doing a video in the wrong way, where it was talking about him doing things wrong. About him not being led by God. Again, not Alex this time, Jeff. Because if Jeff was the one who told Alex to go out and do that, then Jeff was the one who was wrong. So the pastor won't let it go that I did a video, and he doesn't like the fact I put that video online. I didn't speak to either Alex or Jeff about it, but Jeff wasn't actually in the country, so that was a bit impossible. And with Alex, there was no point trying to speak to him about that. Also, I didn't even have his phone number. I had no way of contacting him at that point in time, as I made pretty clear at the time. But the pastor won't let that go, even though that's about him doing wrong. And I've done plenty of videos about the conversation we had about how he tried to defend what Alex said, and even his best defence is a pretty poor defence of it. Yeah, basically saying to me that if I'd listened, I would have known what Alex actually meant to say. Well, someone who can't put across what they mean shouldn't be up there. So by saying, if I'd have listened, I would have known what he meant to say, he was basically saying, yeah, you're right, I shouldn't have put him up there. If he was unable to actually put across what he was trying to say, then I really shouldn't have put him up there, no. But rather than say, okay, I made a mistake, I shouldn't put him up there. Because really what he should have said on the walk was, that when we had a walk, yeah, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have put him up there. Maybe that was a bit too early. Maybe he should have just done his testimony. But what you did in the video, you know, swearing and, you know, that was wrong as well. The problem is that when you're talking to someone who's wrong, but cannot admit that they're wrong, but they're demanding that you admit you're wrong, and won't allow things to move on with you unless you admit you're wrong, even though they will never admit they're wrong. What? Excuse? But that's what God was basically saying. Do a video, because you've got to do a video talking about that. The fact that the interesting point that you was talking about him doing wrong, and although the way you did it might have been wrong, he won't focus on what he did that was wrong. He will only focus on what you do that was wrong, and he will not let that go. It's irony, isn't it, really? It's quite ironic that that is the case. As I say, that, yeah, quite typical pastors. This is the point. Quite typical pastors and leaders. Yeah, they've actually had people sort of bow down to them for so long that anyone who actually says, "No, you're wrong. I cannot compute. I cannot compute. I cannot compute. I cannot compute." Yeah. It's like one of those things, a robot basically being told it's wrong when it thinks that you're wrong. It cannot compute, and neither can Jeff, clearly. So yeah, it's a sad situation. that's the situation. That's where the church is that they have leaders who are not humble in any way, shape or form, not really. They'll happily point out your faults, but they will never actually face their own. Even with plenty of time to speak to God about it, has he faced the fact that, okay, what he did was wrong? Yeah, what he did on the walk was wrong, and what he did putting someone up to speak who wasn't ready was wrong. Has he asked those questions of God? No. No, I don't believe so in any way, shape or form. No. Well, I mean, put it this way. Is it possible, I've even said, is it possible that God wanted Alec to get up there and do that, and that in some way that someone would have been blessed by what he did? Anything is within the realm of possibility. Anything. But it's not likely in any way, shape or form. I truly don't believe that that's I think it is as nearly to not possible as anything. So there you go. Here's what it is. I felt God wanted me to do a video on that point, about me pointing out he's wrong and that was wrong, but he won't face he's wrong. So there you go. You take care. God bless. I'll speak to you soon. Have a wonderful week and have a wonderful weekend. Bye bye.